Hey, what's up? It's Luka and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about the fun, light-hearted conversation topic of male privilege. Jokes aside, I think this is a really important topic that needs to be talked about more because there are some really interesting, subtle ways in which I experience male privilege that aren't really obvious to a lot of people, so I want to talk about it. For those of you who don't know yet, I'm a trans guy, so I grew up as female and I lived a large part of my life being perceived as female, and now obviously I'm being perceived as male. Therefore, I think I have a really interesting perspective on this whole male privilege issue because I have first-hand experience of being treated differently as a man compared to as a woman. When I transitioned, I noticed a lot of things changing, and one thing that I wasn't really prepared for was how society would treat me differently. Like, I just wanted to be perceived as a man. I didn't sign up for the privilege. I'm not complaining at all. I just think it's really interesting how male privilege works in very subtle ways. I'm not even going to talk about the obvious differences like pay gap or harassment, but like I said, the really subtle things people do often without even noticing. But I noticed them because I lived as both, so yeah. It's so weird because you always hear about the concept of male privilege, but it's a totally different thing to experience it firsthand. Some things I was expecting, but other things I was like, okay, that's odd. Also, disclaimer before we start. Obviously, I'm just talking about my personal experience here. I'm not trying to make any general statements. All the situations I will be describing are just examples. I'm not saying it's always like that. It's just tendencies that I have observed in my personal life. Okay, are we good? Then let's go. First of all, people just pay more attention to me. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what to do with all that attention in a way. For example, when I go somewhere with another person who is a woman, let's say we're going to a restaurant to eat some food. For some reason, when a waiter comes, they always look at me to like tell them what to do, or when we have to pay, they always look at me like they expect me to pay. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Obviously not always, but so much more often than before I transitioned. Like, why are you looking at me? I don't have money. Or another example is when I'm in a group of people and I'm the one who's speaking, people listen to me like, okay, that's nice. I don't know, people are just more attentive and pay more attention to what I'm saying, and I feel more heard without necessarily having to put a lot of effort into it. Before, I always felt like I needed to scream to be heard, and now I just talk and it seems to work. Also, sometimes when I'm on the street and there's a person walking towards me, they move to the side to make space for me to pass. Wow, fascinating. My next point is that people are just nicer to me. I just have the impression that people treat me better now. Obviously not everybody, but in general, and I just get taken more seriously and I'm treated with more respect. I feel like especially women are a lot nicer to me now and like more friendly. Like they're trying to get me to like them. I don't know, it's a really weird feeling. Maybe it's when you're socialized as a woman, you're like taught to please men or like be nice to men in a way. That sounds really stereotypical, but I feel like women are just a lot more friendly to me now. And then men, on the other hand, treat me more as equals now. Yeah, they just see me as a man now and therefore they treat me a lot better. Yeah, so basically I get treated better by men and women, but in totally different ways. And everybody just seems to respect me more without me necessarily having to earn that respect. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I always felt like in order to earn someone's respect, I had to do something for it, or I had to be someone. Now I still feel the need to do that, but it's just so much easier now. It's just crazy. I'm not used to being respected without me doing anything. Oh, by the way, maybe I should mention that this only really applies to people I don't know or people I don't know very well, because all my friends and family and just the people I'm really close with, they don't treat me any different. This just applies to strangers or like co-workers, other students at uni, that kind of people. Okay, my next point is that I get praised for like the most basic things. People just applaud me for being nice and sweet and kind and friendly and respectful. The amount of times that I do someone a really tiny favor and they're like, oh my god, Luka, you're so sweet, that's so kind of you, wow. Sorry for that terrible impression, but you get the point. The bar is literally so low for men. When you're a woman, you're expected to do these things and be these things like kind and friendly and respectful. So when you are these things, it's kind of taken for granted because it's the baseline. Everybody is kind of like expected to be like this. But for some reason, it's not expected of men or not expected as much. So I do one nice thing and suddenly I'm the hero. I really don't know how to feel about that. It's just weird. It's kind of comparable to when a mother takes care of her children. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, that's what she's supposed to do. But when a dad takes care of the children and the household and that kind of stuff, everybody loses their shit and it's like, oh my god, dad of the month, what a hero. Obviously not always, but a tendency is definitely there. Okay, next is that I don't get judged or questioned as much as before. Whenever I do something, people just always kind of assume that I know what I'm doing. And I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I'm completely lost. People don't really question my behavior, they just assume that I know what I'm doing. And in a way, I feel like I can do more of what I want now without being judged for it. That could be just random, stupid, childish activities. Or like, okay, I have a really good example. So when you're a guy and you eat a lot of food, people just assume you're hungry, you're a boy, you're an athlete, whatever. But I feel like women get judged a lot because eating a lot or not eating super healthy is not ladylike. I was a very masculine presenting woman and I didn't try to fit in with the like typical woman stereotypes. But still, sometimes I had the feeling that people were low-key judging me for eating a lot of food. I'm not sure, but I get the impression a lot of women feel pressured to eat like tiny portions. Or if they do eat a lot of food, they always seem to have to justify it. Oh my god, this portion is so huge, but I exercised for 3 hours this morning, so I really need it. Like, I don't care, just do whatever you want. But I don't know, societal pressure is hard. Oh yeah, and beauty standards are just a lot higher for women in general. I don't know, as a man you can just get away with looking a little scruffy and like not taking too much care of yourself. But for women, I think there's always a little bit of pressure that you're not seen as a real woman if you don't take care of your appearance. I was never trying to be a woman or look like a woman. Like, I was always a tomboy and I dressed very masculine. I wasn't even getting a lot of shit for it, but you know, I don't know, I didn't fit in at all. But those were kind of like the subtle ways in which I experience male privilege now. Obviously there are also the not so subtle ways, such as the fact that I can take my shirt off in public now, or the fact that creepy men don't approach me anymore. Okay, I have a few final thoughts before we end the video. I'm also aware of the fact that obviously now that I've transitioned, I've also become more confident. So of course it's also possible that people just treat me better now because I come across as more confident. But I think a lot of it definitely comes from being perceived as male now. I don't know, it's really interesting because I think transitioning has made me hyper aware of these issues. I'm always so embarrassed when a man is trying to mansplain something. Or like power dynamics in conversations are so interesting. Even when the majority of the group is women, I think still the men are talking more. I just feel really weird about that power dynamic that women are always listening and men are always talking, or like in the majority. And I definitely appreciate my new privilege even though I didn't sign up for it. But I also kind of want to use it to make the world a better place. I don't know, this sounds cheesy. I don't want to forget about it and take it for granted at some point. I don't want to be like this super ignorant white man in 10 years. And obviously I'm aware that making this video is not going to change the world, but I think it's always important to spread awareness because like if we're not aware of things, we can't change them. And especially these subtle behaviors that I talked about, I think a lot of people just do them without being aware of them. I don't know, that's just my opinion. Maybe you can let me know your experiences with male privilege in the comments below and we could have a little discussion about it. That would be very interesting. Okay, I hope you have a nice day. See you in the next video. Bye.